Hello everyone, it is your boy Datto back again with another Destiny video. Really another reaction video because Bungie just dropped a couple of articles today. They dropped the twid as they usually do, but they also dropped the Renegades content calendar, what we can expect for Renegades. And while I don't think anything here is going to be terribly surprising, there were a few comments that Bungie made that I did want to elaborate on, in addition to a couple of nice quality of life things that I do think look pretty good, and I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. So I wanted to talk about those things. Bungie also talks about sort of the pseudo return of the Grandmaster Nightfall, not exactly called that anymore, but similar in style to what that activity was, which was one of the most commonly run pieces of content, I think, in the game. And I think people were kind of longing for some kind of similar experience to come back. So we'll talk about that in the article after this one. Renegades content calendar. In the short term, we wanted to provide a preview for the changes coming to D2 with Renegades, an update 9501 that goes live a week after the launch, continuing improvements to power and progression, quality of life updates, and the start of a new weekly ritual alongside brand new activities and systems with Renegades. So yeah, I'm back from my little break that I took. Maybe I'll make a video on how my break went sometime in the future if anybody cares about that. But I have already noticed immediately the improvements made to power and progression, the complete dissolving of unstable cores. My infusion experience has been way better. The level grind has been way more chill, which is something that I was really hoping to see, because I thought, the level grind should be chill, and then the tier grind, like the grind for tier 4, tier 5 gear, that should have been the more difficult thing. And unfortunately, I don't think Bungie's going to really be able to put the cat back in the bag when it comes to tiered armor and all that kind of stuff with how much they give out. That's probably another comment for another video. So we're looking at, we have the giant, I'll probably just do a nicer overlay of this. But we can see here, a lot of the stuff that we would normally expect with some sort of a expansion or seasonal update, exotic mission. They have the Renegades campaign, new activity, new dungeon, which we knew about, new weapons, which they've briefly discussed. I think a lot of these things they have kind of briefly discussed. Seasonal power carrying over. That is something that they've, said a few weeks ago that, hey, we're not resetting the power grind for Renegades. We don't know anything about the next expansion after that, if they're going to reset it. But for Renegades specifically, no reset is going to be happening. All exotic weapons and armor is going to be considered featured, so there's no longer having to look through the list to be like, what can I pick for the conquests that I need to do? Because I literally, just yesterday, I was trying to mess around with a Howl of the Storm build, and I was going to take it into a conquest, and I couldn't, because the stuff I was using was not featured. So that's also a very good change. But we're going to take a look at some comments that Bungie made, kind of, talking about the missteps they have made with Edge of Fate, or just, some of the things that they tried that didn't exactly work out. With Edge of Fate, we presented a different vision for the future of D2's core game, one intended to refocus our releases and player call to action on a familiar but deeper pursuit of power, and ascending to higher tiers of gear across a wider range of activities supporting customizable challenge and commensurate rewards. I don't think it was a terrible idea to take a look at the power grind, see everyone was kind of, frustrated with it or not really in tune with it, and being like, okay, well, how can we make this matter again to some degree that people are going to want to engage with the power grind again? I know we have a lot of feedback just get rid of it. But I didn't think it was the worst idea for them to be like, is there a way to make this more meaningful? Is there a way for us to kind of turn this around and have it be some level of impactful? And very quickly, the feedback made it clear that this was the wrong path for Destiny, and it did not end up working out. I do think the tiered gear concepts are pretty neat, although, they are kind of giving out higher tier loot much more commonly than I was originally anticipating. But even if our execution had been perfect, and we plainly see that it was not, it is clear that grinding power will never be a substitute for earning a trophy. Climbing through throwaway tiers en route to the gear you want to build around is not aspirational, like going through tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And the portal itself surrenders too much of Destiny's feeling of place and exploration. These lessons and many others beside them have been taken to heart by our team over the last 3 months. A lot of the game, I mean, I've been calling the game recently just a leveling simulator. That's really what all Destiny kind of feels like it is right now, is just making your way to 550, and then you get to 550 and you're kind of like, all right, what do I do now? And a lot of the hardest things in the game don't even really require you to be at those higher levels, those higher tiers of armor. I have done many difficult things in the game since Edge of Fate. I've done the contest raid, and I've done 5 feet raiding, and the epic raid, and this and that, and Brimstone's coming to say hello. You good, Brim? So I did all those super difficult things, and, it wasn't with like a bunch of tier 5 gear, all shinied out, masterwork, blah, 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 blah. It was a bunch of stuff that I found on the ground, and I kind of just duct taped to myself because that's what you had to do back then. So I just didn't really have much aspiration to go like level and get through all these tiers when it didn't really feel like there was much waiting for me at the very end of that path. Yeah, and in the second part, the portal surrenders too much of Destiny's feeling of place and exploration. The portal ended up being a system that I think Bungie was trying to develop for an audience that just never made it to the game, right? I think the portal was kind of designed to streamline a lot more of the experience, kind of simplify, like, what do I need to do? What should I go do? And just having a bunch of things at your fingertips. But as a result, a lot of people miss the fact that, you used to go out to certain planets and like go around and do things on those planets and see other people. And a lot of that sense of community has kind of been lost. I don't really like mind as much, I'll hit the tower every now and then, but for a lot of other people out there, like it is sorely missed. Like there's like, it doesn't feel like there's a place, like it doesn't feel like there's a Destiny universe anymore. It just feels like a bunch of menus. And, I'm not saying exactly that we need to go back to, if you want to run the Shattered Throne, you got to make your way to the Dreaming City, and then you got to sparrow through Spina Caries and go down the secret path and then go into that place, and then you find Shattered Throne and then activate it from there. Although, like, I kind of miss that. I'm not saying it needs to go that far, but I know a lot of people would appreciate that feeling coming back, because that's kind of what made Destiny for many years, is just exploring and patrolling and going to destinations and seeing other people and doing things with other people. And it's not like you're not doing activities with other people, because you are, but it's just all done through matchmaking, right? I kind of liken it to when I was playing World of Warcraft back in the day. They didn't have Dungeon Finder queue. Like, I mean, it was it's like one of the first, big updates that they had, where you could just kind of hit up a menu and automatically get thrown into a dungeon. Before, you used to have to, look in the group chat and see, and then everybody's got to fly out to the place to start doing the dungeon and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of gave the world like a sense of scale. And I think like one of my favorite feelings in Destiny is feeling really small in a really big place. And you don't really get to have that feeling as much when you're just sitting in a menu, like queuing up for the next thing. Even if I don't necessarily mind the ease and like the variety of like ping ponging around to a bunch of different activities. So, nice to see, Bungie kind of come out and talk about some of these things about like, hey, like this wasn't it. I appreciate them trying to do something new, trying to, like make power a thing again. Like, you're never going to know until you try. 'Cause like, what if people did end up liking it, right? What if it was executed properly, and people enjoyed it, right? You would never know. I appreciate that they tried. I've always said, I'd rather Bungie fall on their face trying something new and different and have it not work out, then just continuing down the same path. So it's nice to see them discuss some of the shortcomings of Edge of Fate and some of the shortcomings of the Portal and the core game and all that kind of stuff. So I'm interested in seeing what they do. Are they going to go completely back to where things were before Edge of Fate? Because it kind of seems like we're drifting in that direction with some of the things that they have discussed and we will discuss here momentarily. Let's talk about some nice things for now. Some quality of life stuff. The Vault. Look at this. All your items. You could sort by weapons. You could sort by armor. You could sort by, I don't know who has ghost shells and sparrows and ships still in their vault, but looks like you do that too. Or like I got like 40 junk items, right? It's probably in this tab as well. Vault organization. Finally, after over 10 years of this game, we finally have vault filters. You can click on whatever page you want to go to instead of having to tab through every single page to get to your armor or whatever. Sorting, date added, rarity, power, tier, slot, all this, more filters here. I'm assuming you're going to be able to go to your weapons and sort by, I want a kinetic slot stasis hand cannon. Show me all the kinetic slot stasis hand cannons that I got. And then you can change it to like, all right, organize them by power or like whatever. Sorely needed. I don't think it's going to necessarily replace something like Destiny Item Manager, because Destiny Item Manager has, a lot of functionality. But even just being able to go in game and kind of organize yourself a little bit neater and a little bit nicer is so nice. It's so, this looks so nice. I really want to see the filter list. Gefilter.
What's the name of the fish?
Gefilter fish. Gefilter fish.
Anyway, this is nice. I really want to see, as long as, I just need robust filters. I don't think they end up showing it. I don't think they show all of the filters that they can do, but this has been a long time coming. And you might have also noticed it's out of 1,000. I think earlier they said that they were going to give us 100 slots. They're now giving us 300 slots, up to 1,000 now. So that should hopefully help alleviate a lot of people's woes with storing all this armor, especially because we got a lot of set bonuses now, right? And I'm not saying all the set bonuses are god tier or anything, but being able to, micromanage a lot more of that stuff now is going to be a bit easier. A lot of that pressure is going to be kind of released. I think you should still, try to stay organized as much as you can. But even I'm running into some vault problems, right? Because they made an entire section of the loot chase way more relevant compared to wherever it used to be. And even I'm struggling with some vault stuff, right? I think the only thing now, here's what I want. Here's what I really want. I want a little icon on my armor sets or my weapons or whatever that signify if they are in a build, in a loadout that I have in game. I think that's the next quality of life thing that I want. I want to be able to hover over all of my armor, and I want there to just be a little tick mark. Maybe you could even show the loadout icon that armor piece is linked to, just so I can very quickly at a glance be like, oh, okay, that's part of that set, that's part of that set, that's part of this set, whatever. Which would make vault organization and inventory organization even smoother, because you could just very quickly at a glance see oh, that's not in a loadout, goodbye. That's not in a loadout, goodbye. Something like that, I think, would be amazing to have. So hopefully they can make something like that happen. What else? We have a few things here. I kind of jumped the gun there. I'm sorry. Wider access to power progression, especially in expansion content. Players will be able to reach the power cap directly through Renegades activities if they wish. That was something that was kind of missed about Edge of Fate is... Edge of Fate, you did the campaign, and then there was maybe some side missions to go do if you wanted to go do those. But there wasn't really that much stuff within Edge of Fate that you could use to go level, which made it feel very stale very quickly, because you would do the campaign and it's all right, right back to all the old content that we used to do. And Renegades is going to have the Lawless Frontier activity, and I assume we're going to learn more about that pretty soon because we're like less than 3 weeks away from the expansion. So they're probably going to yap about that pretty soon. But that should hopefully like make things feel like maybe not as stale. I'm not saying like we only need to level through Renegades activities. I like going back and forth. I'm going to do a little of the new thing. I'll come back. We do some oldies but goodies. Come back to do some Renegade stuff. Like go back and forth. That's how it should be. Seasonal power and featured gear carry across seasons. All exotic weapons and armor are now featured. That should help soften the blow from doing any sort of avant-garde activities, your conquests, things like that. You know, I understand maybe wanting to like, you know, push people in a direction when it comes to build crafting for a season, but that's kind of what the artifact is for. You know, after like a few months of playing around with the featured gear, you kind of like, all right, I'm done with the featured gear. Now let me like just kind of use whatever stuff I want to use. If anything, this really helps prismatic builds quite a lot because the prismatic or the exotic class item was not considered featured, and a lot of people like to use the exotic class item when they're doing stuff with prismatic, right? So that's going to be very, very nice. We're moving power catch up from a chest needing manual pickup to organic drops. Sign in, play Renegades, catapult to 300 and play with your friends. They really want to on-ramp people as quickly as possible. We were going to get reset down to 200 at one point. Now they're just like straight up boosting you straight away to 300. So you should be able to join back in pretty quickly if you have not really been in tune with the game or playing too much. So that's a nice little boost on top of the fact that your infusion costs are essentially nothing, right? I imagine people probably have a lot of enhancement cores. So yeah, very, very good stuff here with the vault. Love that. Big quality of life update, more slots, more filtering. It's gonna make vault cleanings way visually nicer to do. Like if I ever do any more vault cleanings, this is just great presentation. Great presentation. Universal exotic armor ornaments. Fashionistas. Our time has come. Players may now apply any owned exotic armor ornament of the same class and slot to their exotic armor in PvE. In PvP, armor will continue to show their base aesthetic to avoid confusion in combat. You know, Bungie wants people to, you know, if you're fighting against a hunter and they're wearing a certain exotic, they're like, oh, you have that exotic. I know to, you know, try to play around that. But if it's actually something different, then you just don't even know what they're using. So I totally understand them wanting to like keep that pretty PvE only. But you can see here on the hunter, they're using Aeon Swift, but they have access to every single exotic ornament that they own in the arm slot across every exotic. So one of the big pain points of doing fashion, although you could look at it as like an exercise in trying to make certain exotics work, is, you know, you were limited to certain fashion choices based on the shaders you own and the ornaments that you own. Or if an exotic didn't have any ornaments, then you were just like locked to that one. And if it didn't look that good, then you were just kind of in trouble, right? There's a lot of exotics that like look really good, but are not very good. Like Blight Ranger IMO is pretty decent looking exotic. No one's using Blight Ranger because Blight Ranger's ass. So now we can take some of these like ornaments that are on other exotics and make ourselves like look way nicer. Like I know nobody likes the look of Verity, right? No one likes how Verity looks. Now I can take my stag ornament and start using that instead because I love the stag. The stag has like one of these really, really nice ornaments. I don't think you're going to be able to like choose the base look. It doesn't seem like, it seems like it's ornaments only. It's not like you can take the base look of an exotic and apply it to the base version of another exotic. I think it has to be an ornament, at least just kind of based on what I'm seeing here. But like, dude, I love the stag. And I love like the ornament specifically that goes with the stag. But the stag is like not that great of an exotic. And now I can use it if I want to do like a Verity's Brow setup, right? So this is really nice. This is also really, really nice because, you know, sometimes the fashion game be kind of tough with some of these exotics, and just opening up the play space for fashion with these exotics is Makes the process a lot easier. It gives you way more options. So really like that as well. Numerous sandbox buffs to existing exotics and legendary archetypes. We talked about this very recently because they put out a weapon tuning preview, which I did a full reaction to. I will link it at the end of this video and somewhere else. Reintroducing weekly objectives to support weekly rituals. I didn't think that I was really ever going to miss the whole weekly ritual that we used to do, but it did give sort of like a sense of purpose when you logged in for the week to be like, all right, all my stuff's reset. It's time to loot up. It's time to, hit all my my weekly objectives, get a bunch of loot. It kind of gave you some amount of direction to go in. And, I know how to navigate the portal, right? Like, oh, we hitting all the things with the bonus engrams, right? But being this is what I was kind of talking about, like at the very beginning of the video. It seems like Bungie is kind of shifting more towards how things used to be with some of these weekly challenges and weekly reset and like Vanguard alerts, which we're going to talk about after we're done talking about this article. Bring back some Nightfall vibes. Grandmaster Nightfall, again, one of the most commonly run pieces of content. People are doing farming runs. People are chilling in the GM playlist. And I think a lot of people thought conquests were going to be sort of like a Nightfall replacement. And then they were one time only, and then they're not one time only anymore. They're sometimes. And so now we have some sort of GM Nightfall replacement for, people to go hang out in who are at the very, very high level, right? Arena Ops, bring back select 6-player seasonal activities like Catch Crash for larger fire team fun. I think that's nice. I like a lot of the 6-player things. Catch Crash, Astral Alignment, I think there's one a Nightmare Containment from Season the Haunted looks like. It looks haunted. The one from Season the Splicer. Override. I hope I'm right on that one. Might be Override. I mean, it's not in the list, but like that's another one that they could bring back at some point, right? I don't know if these are like the only ones that are gonna come back, or if it's just like a sample size, small sample. But that's nice. I like the 6-player things as well. I would love to run those. So in development example of Vanguard alerts, we got your quick play with your weekly objectives. Looks like they're giving out some chronologues for the old season passes. In case you're not really familiar with that, chronologues allow you to buy stuff from old season passes if you didn't have them already. If you do have everything from old season passes, you can just use chronologues to buy bright engrams like I've been doing. I got a bunch of free dust that way, so that's been pretty nice. Grandmaster Vanguard alert, Sunless Cell. They're bringing Sunless Cell back. That's going to be your GM equivalent type thing to go run. But like I said, we're going to talk about this in the Twitter article when we go react to that. Vanguard orders a bounty replacement, a bright dust, an infinite bright dust grind replacement, because I know a lot of people miss the ability to go grind a bunch of bright dust from the repeatable bounties. This looks like it's going to be replacing that. So let me go find the article where they talked about that, and we'll talk about that in a moment. New legendary weapons and armor sets to earn across the portal. Alongside new looks to earn in Renegades content, we're adding multiple theme sets to expand upon your cosmetic chase. Okay. And then they kind of, outline the rest of the year. Nothing too crazy here, right? We got the Dawning. It's going to go back to 3 weeks. You got your Arms Week. You got your Guardian games in March. You have a mid-season call to arms, which I also gave some feedback on the one that's going right now. And even Bungie has posted some updates to what they plan on doing for call to arms, which we'll also talk about momentarily. Iron Banner, Heavy Metal. I like Heavy Metal. Iron Banner is all right, whatever. And then you got General Portal modifiers and Weapon Foundry sponsorships, and they got like the special and heavy surges to juice other things here and there. So none of this is terribly surprising. And then just like a little conclusion at the end here to be like, we're trying. Basically, this is like, hey, we're trying. So okay, nice to see some accountability right here as well. These quality of life updates are very, very nice. I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean, it actually wouldn't surprise me at all if someone was mad about like one of these things here, but like it's got to be pretty difficult to be upset about like up in the fashion game and more vault spaces and vault organization tools, right? Like this is good stuff. Let's go take a look at the TWID where they go over some of the Vanguard alert stuff. We got a new solo ops. Just making sure you guys can see it. New solo ops, which I think that's like a Lightfall themed thing. Sunless Cells back. Arena ops, yep. Vox Obscura and Derealize, okay. And yeah, okay, so okay, here's the order system too. Let me see if I can find something on the orders. Okay, so there was something on orders. This came out when I was on my break, so I didn't get to really explain it to people. But orders will be part of the improved seasonal hub that is launching with Renegades. While you're your active orders in the portal main screen, the new overview tab is where you'll find them alongside your daily and weekly objectives, as well as the weekly rewards. Your active orders are objectives to complete while you're doing other tasks, and they often focus on actions like defeating enemies, using weapons, or doing a thing. They are granted automatically on login, so you don't have to worry about getting them, so you don't have to go to, Zavala or like check your phone to, grab a bunch of bounties. They're just there. Common orders are often granted based on your character's current loadout, so completing them should be a natural thing to do as you play. If you don't like one of your orders, you can replace it for a random one by spending some glimmer, but the cost goes up as you keep re-rolling. But if you do your common orders, then the cost of re-rolling goes down to, I assume, some sort of a minimum, 250 glimmer to replace it, which I can't imagine you're going to have to replace that many of your orders to really mess around with them. And this, I think they said, was going to be, I know they've talked about wanting to replace the bright dust. Yeah, the most of the XP bright dust and economy-based rewards behind systems that require specific activities and do. This is where they kind of want to bring back some of those that like bounty feeling. This will be replacing bounties and seasonal challenges with a more approachable set of objectives that rewards players consistently for their time on D2, whether it's 10 minutes or 2 hours. So a lot of this happening in the back. I guess you click your reward here. A lot is happening in the background is very nice. Having to micromanage a lot of these bounties and going back and forth and check the phone and grab the bounties and this and that is, it's kind of like, this was why I really didn't participate with bounties. So as long as this is all happening kind of automatically and the game is like trying to detect, what your loadout is, like if you're using a bunch of solar things with a hand cannon, it's like hopefully it's going to give you a bunch of get solar kills and get hand cannon kills, right? So I like the convenience of it. And then we have legendary and exotic orders. You can see this little legendary meter here. I assume basically as you do the common ones, this legendary meter will fill, and as this fills up, you have a higher and higher chance to get a legendary order, and it kind of looks like that. Play with other guardians to do. Increase the chances that you can get an upgraded order. Take longer to complete. They give you more stuff. And that meter shows you the likelihood of getting one. And then you can even get an exotic order when you do a legendary order. And I assume that's going to give even more. They literally give it right here, right? 10 for a common, 100 bright dust for a legendary, 200 for an exotic. And also, until your account has earned 6,000 bright dust during that season from exotic payouts. Okay. So I think you probably got to be grinding pretty hard to get 6,000 bright dust from these. But okay, they're capping it. All right. I don't know how I feel about the caps on that, but order payouts must be claimed from the seasonal hub before a season ends, as they expire at the start of the new one. So just make sure you're picking them up. Allow for a more streamlined experience where you earn progress and rewards without paying as much attention to your menus. Yeah, that was something that was a little annoying, having to make sure I'm like, okay, check my gunsmith. Okay, let me put on a scout rifle, fusion rifle, linear fusion rifle loadout so I can get all these bounties done. The more that, this system can adapt to the things that you're already using, the better. Just make it about convenience and not like making it feel like it's a bunch of chores that you're doing. So this brings us to the TWID, which we're mainly going to go over Vanguard alerts. We do have the dungeon race coming up on the 12th? Do they say? The 13th. The race is on the 13th. Okay. At 9 a.m. This might be the first raid and dungeon piece of content that I miss. I am not sure I'll be home for this because I committed to something else quite a long time ago. I'm not sure I will be home. But anyway, we'll figure that out. That's a little disappointing, but it's using all the same rules as the Epic Raid Race, where, you know, you have to, one person has to stream and it's got to be on YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And you got to have your VOD, and if you want to hide your stuff, you got to use the overlay and all the same things. So if you're in that world, you probably already know about this stuff. Let's get over to Vanguard alerts. Vanguard alerts allow you and your fire team to complete a range of activities available to players at all skill levels for rewards that will help you progress in the game. Activities include different playlists, our new Grandmaster Vanguard alert, and the Desert Perpetual raid, as well as the upcoming Renegades dungeon. Should feel similar to the Vanguard Ops playlist and Grandmaster Nightfalls of old. The goal is to bring back the feeling of logging into D2 for the week and immediately knowing what activities to start with to get you and your fire team that good loot, giving you an opportunity to have fun while building up to harder activities. Getting back to this weekly routine, the weekly routine is something that active players got very, very familiar with over the past few years. And this is why it kind of feels like, you know, the portal didn't exactly work out, because it didn't, like, we didn't have this huge influx of people who were like, how does all this stuff work? Like, most of the people still playing the game knew how the game worked, and the portal was just not really hitting as much, or like people missing kind of the weekly cadence of things. Even I miss like part of the weekly cadence. I miss like logging in on Tuesday and be like, all right, it's loot day. Let's hit some nightfalls. Let's hit some raids. Let's hit this. Let's hit that. So to complete Vanguard alerts, open the seasonal hub, go to the Vanguard alert tab, contain a set of activities, including the new 6-player PvE arena ops that are fast, uncomplicated to complete. It's still complicated for some people, let me tell you, and have preset modifiers. These are best for players that just want to relax and play some PvE while earning great rewards. Then you got the Grandmaster, more difficult activities where you and your fire team can test your mettle. Rotating weekly, should take slightly longer and offer greater rewards for your time and effort, as they are harder than the usual Grandmaster difficulty you found elsewhere in the portal, in which Bungie just did like a big retuning of all of the difficulties. So now, like, Grandmaster is minus 25 levels pretty much all the time. Ultimate's like minus 30, which is not the old old minus 25 is equal to minus 50 now, right? Minus 30 now is like minus 15 back then, and minus 15 I would say is like pretty mid-tier. So this might be, I mean, it's hopefully going to be scaled in a way that is similar to the GMs before Edge of Fate, which were minus 25, which would be equal to about minus 50 today. So I guess we'll see there. They're also going to put in Dungeon and Raid in the Vanguard alerts to give you easy access to these activities. They're going to give you some extra rewards, I assume, on top of the rewards that you would normally get from these activities. So let's take a look at said rewards. Each week, they're also a multi-stage challenge with rewards and XP granted for each stage completed. Again, pretty similar to how things used to be. Like Vanguard Ops had, 3 tiers where every 3 completions or something, you got some sort of a reward. And then, if you did 3, you got this, you got 6, you did this, you do not all 9 of them, you got this. The weapons you earn from completing each stage will be tier 3 or above based on your account power and among the highest power drops that you can earn. Primary source for seasonal weapons, featuring the accelerated assault origin trait, which loads a small amount of ammo to the weapon after dealing sustained damage. That's pretty good. Once each week, you can earn the following bonus rewards for completing the first stage. Some Bright Dust and Chronologs. You can repeat the playlist activities, receive regular rewards based on the score. Completing GM Vanguard alerts with B or higher will reward 1 pinnacle weapon with the accelerated assault origin trait and some bonus XP. Doing the raid and dungeon gives seasonal bonus powerful gear reward from either activity. What is next? They're going to tell us as soon as they lock them in. They're asking for feedback. What kind of stuff do you want to see included in Vanguard alerts? What do you miss? What do you want to run again? Where would you expect to find this? Like, I guess literally they're asking, like, where in the UI do you want that? Like, where is it going to be convenient for us to place it? So, I mean, like, they have this menu and in the seasonal hub. I don't necessarily mind it in the seasonal hub, especially with like some of the UI changes that they are making to the seasonal hub. But if you have more specific feedback, they're looking for it. You hit them up on the Devil's website or Blue Sky or whatever. Go let them know. I don't necessarily mind it being right here. I think this is fine. Call to Arms update. We talked about it in yesterday's video. They are making some changes. Salt Mines activity is only going to have taken combatants because you used to have to load into the salt mines and then make sure you got the Taken, because the Taken could give you more points versus the Dread. So you just kept resetting over and over, which is really annoying. So they just made it, it's like, okay, this is only like, it's only gonna be this one, so everyone's on a level playing field. Cutting Edge is gone in all Crucible modes. I don't think that was that big of a deal, but okay. And then Zone Control was like not recording scores, so they fixed that. Remove power multipliers as a scoring factor in PvE and PvP activities. This means players at 500 power can earn similar scores to those at 550. This was my biggest gripe, is that if you were not in the 500 range, like even low 500 was struggling. If you were not in the 500 range, there was basically no chance that you could really compete for a high score. I wanted this to be purely a showcase of skill. Just, are you good enough to do it? And so it looks like they are drifting that direction a little bit. So it seems like 500 is where you really want to be, which I understand for a lot of people is still kind of unattainable. So hopefully sometime in the future, they can make it so power does not matter at all, and it's just purely on the merit of your ability to play the game. Because, you know, the best players are still going to set some of the top scores, but just because you don't play a ton does not mean you are not good at the video game, right? Change boons to add 0 red or green triangles, and you may now choose any boon without impacting overall score. Not sure how I feel about that, because I feel like you want to really make the piece of content as difficult as possible, and adding boons kind of goes against that, but okay. Change all gear player stakes to add 5 green triangles in call to arms activities, matching all bows. Goal is to give players the opportunity for more variety in selecting modifiers during this competition. Yeah, basically if you wanted like some of the highest scores possible, you had to run all bows in all pieces of content, which like I understand is like kind of like a novelty thing, but for an event like this, you maybe don't want it to be on like every single activity. Like if all bows was on like one of them as like a novelty thing, it's like, okay, all bows, fine. To put it on every activity, not really what I think a lot of people were looking for. Increasing revive token quantities in the coil activity. How about also increasing them in Contest of Elders? Bro, there's no champions in there, man. We can't revive. Every time I load in, it's like 0 revives and one guy just fighting for their life. Put some freaking tokens in there, man. Put some champions in there. Some activities have like 80,000 champions who never run out of revives, and then Contest of Elders got nothing. Validating fix for the Iron Banner quest. Okay. And then you got Bungie Bounty returns, and that's the end of it. So good stuff. Good stuff. Like the quality of life updates for Renegades, the vault stuff, the exotic armor ornaments getting loosened up, the feeling of the old school Grandmaster situation kind of coming back. And I liked Bungie, you know, taking some responsibility for how the past few months have gone. How, you know, they kind of said like, yeah, we whiffed. We whiffed on the power stuff. We whiffed on this. We whiffed on that. And it does seem like it doesn't seem like we're getting completely away from the portal, because I think that is such a big feature and such a big part of like how the game operates right now. So I don't think it's going to go away completely anytime soon, but it does seem like they're trying to add a few more things that kind of make it feel like we're back in the Light and Darkness saga of how those things used to work. And hopefully going into the future, we can see a little more of a return to, you know, people going out to planets. And, you know, I would love to see more things where we have some more higher level stuff where you actually have to land on the destination and go do things, and you're seeing other people and things like that, because it would really help return this sense of community or MMO feeling within the game, as opposed to, you know, people just sitting in menus and the only place you can really see other people is in the tower, right? So I think that's all I got. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.